The reading for Reformation is Kings 5, 1 through 5, and 8, 1 through 13. When Hiram, king of Tyre, heard that Solomon had been anointed king to succeed his father David, he sent the envoys to Solomon because he'd always been on friendly terms with David. Solomon sent back this message to Hiram. You know that because of the wars waged against my father David from all sides, he could not build the temple for the name of the Lord his God until the Lord put his enemies under his feet. Now that the Lord my God has given me rest on every side, and there is no adversary or disaster, I intend, therefore, to build a temple for the name of the Lord my God, as the Lord told my father David when he said, Your son, whom I will put on the throne in your place, will build the temple for my name. Then King Solomon summoned into his presence at Jerusalem the elders of Israel, all the heads of the tribes and chiefs of the Israelite families, to bring the ark of the Lord's covenant from Zion, the city of David. All the Israelites came to King Solomon at the time of the festival in the month of Ethanim, the 7th month. When all the elders of Israel had arrived, the priests took up the ark, and they brought the ark of the Lord and the tent of meeting and all the sacred furnishings in it. The priests and Levites carried them up, and King Solomon and the entire assembly of Israel had gathered about him were before the ark, sacrificing so many sheep and cattle they could not be recorded or counted. The priests then brought the ark of the Lord's covenant to its place in the inner sanctuary of the table, the most holy place, and put it beneath the wings of the cherubim. The cherubim spread their wings over the place of the ark and overshadowed the ark and its carrying poles. These poles were so long that their ends could be seen from the holy place in front of the inner sanctuary, but not from outside the holy place, and they are still there today. There was nothing in the ark except the 2 stone tablets that Moses had placed in it at Horeb, where the Lord made a covenant with the Israelites after they came out of Egypt. When the priest withdrew from the holy place, the cloud filled the temple of the Lord, and the priests could not perform their service because of the cloud, for the glory of the Lord filled his temple. Then Solomon said, The Lord has said that he would dwell in a dark cloud. I have indeed built a magnificent temple for you, a place for you to dwell forever. The word of the Lord.
The Holy Gospel according to John. Glory to you, O Lord. And Jesus answered them, Destroy this temple, and I will raise it again in 3 days. They replied, It has taken 46 years to build this temple, and you are going to raise it in 3 days? But the temple he had spoken of was his body. The Gospel of our Lord. Praise to you, Lord Christ. Please be seated. So this text has some difficult things, and I'm looking at it, and I was trying to figure out, how does this relate to Reformation? How does this relate to confirmation? And so I know some of you here came to public theology, and I said, how? Because I'm looking for other people to tell me, what do they hear in this text? How does it relate? Well, we all came up with a few things, but none of it relating to really confirmation and reformation. But God spoke to me through writings and listening, and got some other pieces to go with it. But let's first deal with this text, going back to the very beginning, that David is not the king to build the temple, right? He was a king during war, and God wanted a peaceful king, not that David wasn't peaceful, but a king that reigned over when there was peace. And you hear it back in the very beginning that Solomon says, you know these things because now there is peace. So this person, this other king he's talking to is not in Jerusalem, but outside of that in another kingdom, and there is peace between them. Now, David set the building blocks, okay? Because he had something to do with this. He did not build it. Kind of like what we do with kids when we send them to Sunday school and we send them to confirmation. Now, sometimes, let's face it, we got to go and get them to go do that, right? You ever been a little kicked in the butt to go and do what you didn't really want to do? Yeah. Yeah, we've all been through that. I've been kicked there too. So we push our kids so that they learn, and we help prepare them. We set the foundation for the rest of their lives. And that's what David did. He put away money, he put away wood, he put away gold. He did all these things and helped get this ready so that Solomon could do what God has said Solomon would do, that David could not do, which was build the temple. But Solomon was going to build the temple. So he helped lay the foundation for Solomon to carry out God's will for the kingdom and for Solomon. We do that. We take care of our youth. And even today, after they were confirmed, you all took this promise that you would still pray for them, you would still care for them, you would still lift them up. So we do that as a community. We care for our people. Notice that in this text, this temple was not just built and only Solomon came in and dedicated the temple. There was a lot of people. The Israelites, not one, plural, came together for this dedication. This was a big deal. As a community, we come together, we worship, we care for each other, and we go out and care for others. This is the same thing that they're doing. Look at all the people around in that photograph from way back then. Oh, okay, good, you caught it. No, so it's not a photograph, but this is a depiction. What it was? Because it's kind of the center of everything, the center of spiritual life. The center. This is our center, where we come to be filled spiritually and guided, so that we can go out and take care of others, so that we can share this so that they can take care of others as well. And we come back in, we go out, in and out like a set of lungs. We're breathing in, get cleansed, recharged, and go out. Breathe in, go out. So that's what that was all about, is getting that center. So as a community, they come together. Now, I don't know if you remember the staves that they talked about to hold the ark. Did you hear that? The wings of the cherubim, you were covering all that. Huge, okay? These things are long. There's a reason for that, because nobody should touch and get that close proximity to the ark. The ark holds the law, which were what? The 10 Commandments. And law reveals what? See if you're good Lutherans here. Law reveals sin, right? And sin causes death. The ark is the law that reveals our sin and causes death. Ooh, that doesn't sound very good, does it? But God prescribed a way for atonement for that. For them, that was the sacrifices. Now, we don't throw cattle up here anymore, or doves, or we don't do sacrifices. Anybody want to do a sacrifice? No, I don't want to clean up that mess. So we don't have to do the sacrifices because the atonement has already been done for us as Christians in Jesus. So Martin Luther, here's how we go back to the Reformation, okay? Just in case you don't catch the turn there. Martin Luther was all about the Old Testament to start with, until one of his mentors said, hey, you heard this thing called the New Testament? Oh. And he starts reading. And what he finds out is, although God is the God of judgment, the God of law, There's Jesus, who is God, the Son of grace and mercy. And that's what we count on. That atonement by God, as God himself, as the Son, gets upon the cross and dies. The temple is destroyed. You heard that in the gospel. The temple is destroyed, but in 3 days he is raised and all things are new. That's what we count on, and that's what Martin Luther found out. It was like, oh, this is the guy that I need to be looking at. Jesus, the Son, God himself, the great I am in the flesh. This is the person I need to talk about. This is the person I need to see. This is the person that makes everything new for you and me. Something else interesting in this text, we got the gathering of people. We've got that the ark can bring some death. That's why we had those long staves so that no one gets near it. But they had a way of atoning for that so that there was death, but yet there was life because God prescribed a way. We don't have to do that. But interesting enough, don't you remember the Exodus? How did God appear in front and behind? Bright light, white clouds, right? So guiding light takes care of the people in the front and behind. Yet here, God appears as a dark cloud and hovers over the area where the ark is. Ooh, what do you do with that dark cloud? Well, that tells me that God is both in the light and in the dark. God is present in all times and all places. It's kind of going along with what we believe is Jesus descended into hell. And then on the third day he rose again. That means no matter where we're at, whether we're in the darkness or we're in the light, whether we're in hell, our own hells, because anybody walk through and go, this really feels like hell to me. You ever had days like that? Really? Nobody? Cool. I have. I've had days and I've had weeks like that. Be honest. You probably have. But that means God is still there. Even when we think God is not, God is. So God is there, symbolizing that God is present at all times, all places, no matter what. Even when things seem at their darkest, God is there. So King Solomon wants to make this whole thing a very big deal, okay? Very spiritual-centered, a community, a kingdom, a priestly, spiritual, peaceful kingdom. But he ties it back also to what the people knew, that God provides. So he heard it was in the 7th month and there's a festival going on. This festival has to do with like a harvest, a lot of food, okay? God provides food. God provided for them in the Exodus. And so this harvest, this festival is done, and this is when they choose to dedicate because God provides. In abundance, God provides. So there's some controversy whether or not it was completed in the 6th month and they dedicated in the 7th month. It really doesn't matter. It could have been completed in the 8th month and they waited to the 7th month, when some people actually believe that. I probably tend to believe that too, because you needed time to create the furniture and all the other new things that were going in it, because where was the ark housed before? In a tent. Just a tent. Now, that tent was really handy because you could take tent up and down as they were during the Exodus for the 40 years, but now there's a permanent place of peace. So they probably spent the time with all the things that David had set aside to be able to make all the other furnishings for this permanent place. So they make this permanent, ornate place so that everybody can gather. It's a place of peace. It's a place of spiritual. It's a place that, yes, there is death through the commandments in sin, yet there's a place for atonement, and that's what they do. They do sacrifices. And how many sacrifices did they do? Anybody remember what the number was in the text? So many they couldn't even count them. So they were sacrificing, all these people sacrificing. Boy, it's a good thing we don't have to do that. Although, all the money changers, they could probably make some good money doing that. And they probably did. But we don't need to, because Jesus did it all for us. Jesus has taken care of it for you, for me, for you, so that we don't have to. And all that Jesus asks is for us to respond and take care of one another. Now, when we take care of one another, of course, we all remember that when we're on an airplane, how many of you have been on an airplane? And what do they say when the mask comes down? Immediately grab it and put it on somebody else, right? No. They put it on you. They put it on you so that you can take care of the other. If you don't take care of you, I'm picking on you because you're right there. If you don't take care of you, can you take care of her? No. Or him. Right. If you didn't take care of you, would you have been able to take care of her? No. So we take care of ourselves here so that we can care for others, like sending them to Sunday school, sending them to the best things that we can do. We take care of ourselves so that we can take care of others, so we can send people out, so we can take care of the community. So we do things like Habitat for Humanity, or that we did on Friday night, Trunk or Treat Fall Fest. We had over 500 people come through here, and so many positive comments about that. How many of you, raise your hand if you were part of that on Friday night? Please raise your hands. And it takes all these people, whether you're coming, you're distributing, or you're setting up, taking down, it takes a community of people to care for a community. And so people outside of here that came here knew that they were cared for and loved by where and by whom? By Mountain View Lutheran Church, by the people of God that are at Mountain View Lutheran Church. That is what we do. We're Spirit-led.